We started our new topic of Mayim Achronim, and we saw, if you want to just a quick summary on page 404, we saw a couple of different reasons for Mayim Achronim. One was a Melech Sodomis, this type of acidic type of salt, kind of like from the Dead Sea, the salt gets in your eyes. The other reason is because of Zuhama. The other reason there's some type of impurity. The other was of just regular lichluch. And one idea that we said was, if benching is a bracha doraisa, so how could you not have clean hands when you bench? We're saying a bracha minator. You wash before you daven. How could you not have clean hands before one eats, before one benches? Especially in the olden days where they didn't have a knife and fork, and they often used their hands to really touch the food. For example, like right now, we're all eating our danishes and we're touching the food. Hands get dirty, filled with. There's no way that anybody here, after they finish eating, wouldn't go, wipe your hands off. Maybe if your hands get really sticky, you can put them underwater before you walk out. That's the world that we live in terms of our health standards. So for benching, for Birkas Hamazon, V'chalta V'sato Birachta, how could you not wash your hands? And we saw two different Ashkenazim and Sfaradim. The Yalkut Yosef says, even in today's modern era, one should not be Mekel. Whereas for Ashkenazim, we see that a lot of people are Mekel, but Arei Shemayim should be Machmir. And you only have to wash until the second perek, until the second set of knuckles. And again, make sure that the water goes down, not up, because it's considered disgusting water. And the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says that the Rambam and the Gra are very machmir. We're not. We should be machmir, especially in Israel, based on the Zohar. Something we should do. So the next topic, I don't want to spend too much time on, because it's not very practical, and that is the type of water that's used for Mayim Achronim, the type of liquids. So you will recall from Mayim Rishonim, we spoke about that in great detail, because that's much more practical. But in terms of Mayim Achronim, the question is, if a dog already drank from it, does that puzzle it? And probably we have a similar type of standards when it comes to Mayim Achronim as well, in terms of the cleanliness of the water. So let's turn the page, because this is, and in terms of the, you can use other types of liquids for Mayim Achronim as well, even shemen or dvash or chalav. But wine you shouldn't use for Mayim Achronim, because that's considered like it's too chush of wine, and therefore to use a Mayim Achronim might be being the zalzel in it potentially. Okay, here's what I want to focus on. That's a different series of halachos from Mayim Achronim, page 406. Let's actually read this Piskei Tshuva, which is a little bit long, but it's worthwhile because it really deals with different topics of Mayim Achronim, and with that we'll end our small little topic of Mayim Achronim. Here we go. Noagim Chiekli Pashut V'zol. There's a minhag that for Mayim Achronim we use a very simple kli. Now that's very interesting, because anybody here have a Mayim Achronim kli at home? And what's it made out of? It's made out of silver. What do you mean? That's what I have. I got silver, right? Oh, plastic, right? Most people, plastic, you don't do it. Anything you put on their table, usually you don't want it to be out of plastic. The mother's not so happy about those things. So, when I first saw this piece of ketchup, I'm like, what? What do you mean? I got the exact opposite. Let's continue reading. Why? First of all, what's the rationale behind it? Wow. They're part of this other power, this sitra achra, this satan, right? This other entity, so to speak, and therefore it's not something which would be glorified in being machzik in a nice kli.
Anyway, when you wash, then it comes off your hands and
goes
into
this kli. And then he goes on to say, well, wait a second. And not only that, people are machmir. You shouldn't use a kli that you drink or eat up from. Meaning, you shouldn't use your cup that you use for juice or water or wine, to use that kiddush cup for Mayim Achronim. You should have a separate Mayim Achronim kli. Okay? Which, again, is the prevailing minhag if you have Mayim Achronim kli, right? But if you're going to, if b'di'evet use a kli that was used for, that you eat and drink out of, just wash it carefully. Vida, here we go. We see there's a minhag to wash Mayim Achronim specifically. Where would you wash it? Not into a kli, but on the floor. So again, we mentioned this on Tuesday. We live in a different time. I think we started putting Mayim Achronim on the floor. I'm not sure Mom would be very happy with this. It's a place that people aren't going to walk over because it's mamish. I said the table's almost permanent, right? In many cases, you have a dining room table. It literally doesn't move the whole year, right? A little 3 inches here, 3 inches there. It really doesn't move. Okay.
Sit under the table.
What?
Sit under the
Okay. Again, there's another problem. That's we don't live in that era anymore. I'm supposed to say a lunchroom. So if you go to a regular lunchroom, let's say in yeshiva or something. But again, those tables are always being collapsed and moved. And often lunchrooms are multi-purpose
Dirt
rooms.
floor, like in old.
Right. So the olden days used dirt floors. That's why it didn't matter. אף אחרים כתבו שלתחילה אין לנהוג כן, אלא יש להקפיד ליטול לתוך כלי דווקא. Okay, so again, not very practical in our era, because we're not going to start dim achron on the floor, but better do in a cleave, chel mashma from the Zohar Kadosh. Omnam, letoch kior, what about doing my macharonim in your sink? Because some people, if let's say you're machbid on my machronim, and the family that you're eating it is not, so you don't want to be matriach them. So for you to get up and just wash your hands in the sink, that's not such a big deal. But however, be careful. There should not be any bowls in the sink. And sometimes people are makbid on that. Be careful. And not only that, he says there's a sakana. There's a sakana if you have kelim in the sink. And then if, let's say you're washing mayim achronim, make sure that the water that has been deposited from mayim achronim in the sink gets cleaned up properly.
Crazy, there's such like two huge extremes. Like one of them's like, don't even wash, like don't
Right,
even
then
wash on top of your bowls. Another one's like, no, you don't have to do it. It's fine.
Right, yeah. It's like all in. Oh, again, this is the clear business of Zohar Kadosh, right? It's the Zohar, it's the Gra that's the makbid on this. Or the hamtim lahaniach sham kli achila shigbenu amam, or only put the clean later. Wow. Here we go again. Nachon, and people ask about this all the time. Nachon lahasir mashulchan akli mamayim achronim lifnei birkat hamazon. This you see is quite popular. Remove the kli from the table from him. And again, it doesn't say there's a chova. It says nachon. It's a proper thing to do. Why? Ki yesh lam niyam lomar dvarim shebekdusha neged hamayim sheshur aleim ruach hara. Unbelievable. Since there's ruach hara in this mayim, how can you say benching? How can you bench? How can you recite a bracha in front of this water that's, shall we say, ruach hara? Wow. V'yesha kosvim k'moshakasav einachon laminag lahavir etzba'usav halachut ma'im achronim al sfamo. Some people it's minhag, and it's a wrong minhag, that after you wash your hands, what do? You clean off the mustache. Why? To remove the zuhama from the food. No, this is bad. Because if we hold that on this water is ruach ra, so then you're going to put that in your mouth? You're not even putting the kelim, you're going to put it in your mouth. Right? However, here's an issue though. This is very important. So you have a Zohar and you have Rashi Kadosh, right? Now here's something very interesting. When you have Gedolei Yisrael who are washing their mustaches with this water, that to me is a pretty strong indication that you don't need, maybe then what are they trying to say? There isn't this Sitra Achra on this water. Because if the Gedolei Yisrael, it's a Rashi, it's a Rishonim, says you're supposed to do it, that to me would trump maybe a Chumrah of a Zohar Kadosh. Anyways, Gafapi Yesh Nired in Shura Elamaim Shenishpachu V'Yardu Metzbosav. So he comes up with some pshara and he says, well, maybe the wind is the ruach ra, not on the water that's still kind of connected to your fingers, but the water that's actually fallen off your finger. So if the water in the sink is ruach ra, the water in this kli is ruach ra, but not the water that still remained on your finger. That's so he is kind of miyashev the Rashi, and this way you can still wash your mustache.
Do a double rinse.
And then you do it.
Now they're clean.
And then you do it again.
Water on it.
Come on again. Right. Yeah, you could do that.
Straight on the mustache.
For the mustache. There you go. Okay, that's if the water that's left in the fingers, maybe there's no ruach ra. Okay. Ubi Yosef, I don't know, this thing didn't get copied well. I have no idea what that says. Ubi Yosef afapi Torah hanistar shehu ikar ta'am netilas ma'machronim. It's clearly based on the Torah hanistar, on Kabbalistic sources. This is ma'machronim. Because after all, we don't have melstomies today, right? And because we have a fork and knife, so our hands should not be that dirty. It's not enough just a little dip in. You need a little bit more water than that. Chiburam lekafayad. Wow. He says the water should go until kafayad. That's here. It's not the prevailing custom. Right, a little cup from Acharonim. V'gam al etzba agadul. And not only that, but also on your thumb. Most when they wash Acharonim, they only wash this part of their hand. V'letas hagrat tzarich gam hakbid sheyesh shi'ur reviz b'mayim, and the grasses need reviz. Hanoslim yada l'mayim Acharonim. Ach meidach matzinu lachida shekasu shenachal lema'et b'sherman v'lo lito b'safa. He says no. The chida said you should wash just a little bit and not even do your mustache. Ki in latet lechitzonim chelkam b'safa. No, sorry, I didn't read that properly. V'lo lito b'shafa. You shouldn't wash b'shafa with abundance. Why? Ki in latet lechitzonim chelkam b'shafa. Because this is like this external. You know, it's like, I guess it's like showing off. Not quite sure. For every reason, using too much water isn't good. But not this like dabbing of water is not sufficient. If you're going to do it, wash properly. Don't go this like in between. You know, I'll do it, but I'll just do a little bit, a couple drops. No, do it and do it properly. Both hands will die. He says, what do some people do? They put it on one hand, they take the one hand that's wet, and they rub it on the second hand. No, you can't do that. What we're trying to say is, do it properly. Oh, I guess it's referencing who you start with. Usually we start with the balabai, so the most chashuv person at the table starts with it. So 22 amma. It says now you shouldn't, if you have a lot of people at the table, have 2 or 3 mamachronim, so this way the process is faster. Ki af ramtanat v'hafsaka letzorach, like it's true, there's no isser to wait between mamachronim and between benching. Acho pan divrei Yerushalmi she'atokef until yadayim lebracha ein hasata mekatreg al suuda zo. The kedai gam mamachronim ina amura ela inkein ina osa hefsek yotem mishur 22. So you say you shouldn't really have a hefsek, you should wash. That's why I don't understand. Some people do malachim before shir malos on Shabbos. I think that's a problem based on this. You shouldn't do it before shir malos. You do it after shir malos. In between shir malos and benching, and then do it properly. So you're right. An extreme, nah, you don't have to do it. It's not that important. 2, basically, if you're going to do it right with enough water, in a kli, both hands, before benching. So very interesting. And most of the people that I've seen are makbir on my machronim, especially on Shabbos. One could we discussed last time on Shabbos. Perhaps you have a greater, perhaps you have more time, and also we have a greater. We're always washing, and also we kind of have a higher, cleanliness threshold on Shabbos.
So there's a chiyuv to bench, right?
And there's a chiyuv to bench, chiyuv to bread, yeah. As opposed to on Thursdays, we're chiyuv to bread. So
if you just eat normal food.
So it appears not, right? That's what's very interesting. It appears that it's only if you eat normal food, right? Yeah. It's kind of like, I'm having zonos.
Why is that? There's only enough stones on bread?
Just a chashivas of bread, just like that's why there's benching on bread, right? Chashivas of pas. Right? We eat bread and we talk about building Yerushalayim, right? We talk about that. With the land of Israel, building Yerushalayim.
How does that work though? Like, chashivas on bread, but then there's melech stones on it also. As opposed to
I guess melech stomis was supposed to help with the taste. So they said that we're worried that there'll be a little bit of melech stomis mixed into your other salt. I guess you could eat it. They're worried about a chashash, a little bit of melech stomis will be mixed in with your regular melech. Maybe melech stomis is good for cooking. I don't know, maybe it has some.
Is that just like this melech stomis?
No. Okay.